Depending on who you ask, Yuta vs Hakari isn't even that close. If you ask a Yuta fan, of course he'll say Yuta wins. If you ask a Hakari fan, they'll say Hakari wins. And I've actually made this video before. It was one of the very first Jujutsu Kaisen videos I ever made when I actually switched to doing JJK content 6 months ago. However, looking back, I'm not that happy with how the video turned out, so that's why I'm doing a remastered version. So who truly is the second to Gojo? Is it the child prodigy Yuta or the delinquent badass Hakari? And if you like Jujutsu Kaisen, hey, be sure to subscribe, there's a ton on the channel. And lastly, thank you to all the special grade and honored members of the channel, which is just that guy Trey. Much love, man. Alright, now to actually get into it. The thing is, there are win cons for both these characters, and it's not as clear cut as a lot of people make it out to seem. I truly think it depends on the circumstances of the fight. What is this fight? Is it just a friendly fight? Is it a fight to knock the other person out? Are you letting them kill their opponents? Is it in character, or is it just a bloodthirsty, almost fan fiction type of fight? And I'll be addressing these. So first, I'll start all of the win conditions that Yuta has. Yuta is, of course, an absolute beast. I mean, in base, he's considered special grade since he has more energy than even Gojo Satoru in base alone, as well as having access to partially manifested Rika in base. And keep in mind, partially manifested Rika is strong enough to with extreme ease completely hold Yuji in place, and Yuji was just scared for his life as he was sweating and thought, well, this is the end, I can't even move. Though, of course, when you compare it to actual special grades like Uro or Ryushigoro, you can one-shot partially manifested Rika, she's not that impressive. But keep in mind, even while partially manifested, she surpasses even a high-tier grade 1 with complete ease. And then, of course, we have Yuta when he has access to his true curse technique, the Mimicry. So basically, he can use a bunch of mimicked abilities that he has copied, and while he activates this technique, he also has access to the full manifestation of Rika, who of course is the queen of curses and is an absolute monster. As if you've seen JJK 0 or read the Sendai fight, you know she just does not mess around. He actually gets access to a whole slew of curse tools. Granted, we only got to see one of the tools that she has in storage, which were the gauntlets, but as we see when she showcases the tools, she has a just whole bunch that probably have a variety of abilities since they're all considered curse tools. And all of this not even getting into the fact that Yuta is a absolute prodigy at reverse curse technique. He had actually mastered the highest tier, so basically the 3rd tier reverse curse technique, when he barely even knew what cursed energy was, and he barely even knew what reverse curse technique was, if he even knew it at all. And keep in mind, even someone like Gojo, with 11 years of training with reverse curse technique, still doesn't have access to this highest tier, and Yuta did it in an instant, so he truly is a prodigy when it comes to reverse curse technique. And of course, he has his domain expansion. We may not know what it does, but at the very least, every domain expansion takes you at least 2 tiers higher than where you are in base, and this includes your curse technique, so this would be a base Yuta with the Mimicry, so it'd be 2 tiers higher than that, which is very impressive. And while Rika is fully manifested, probably the most broken thing he has is that he has an infinite funnel of cursed energy supply from Rika. That means he can constantly spam reverse curse technique with no issue of running out of cursed energy, and he can just spam as many Mimicry abilities as he wants, as he's just not gonna run out of cursed energy. It's really crazy. So essentially, he's pretty much immortal and unstoppable. Though there is a price to this, you can only have Rika fully manifested for 5 minutes, and when Rika goes, his supply of cursed energy goes, as well as the curse tools and his ability to use the Mimicry. So yes, there is a drawback to being this broke, and a pretty big one at that, since 5 minutes is a very short time in a fight. So if he doesn't wrap the fight up in 5 minutes, well, then he's just gotta rely on his complete base state. Now, the win conditions that Yuta has is that you could argue with the combination of him and Rika that even if Hakari was in jackpot, they could just kill him. Because again, it is a 2v1, and Hakari may be immortal, but he's not truly immortal, as if you just chop off his head or stab him in the brains, then he would just die. With cursed energy or a cursed tool, of course. As because we saw in the Gojo fight, if you stab someone in the head without cursed energy or a cursed tool, they can actually heal that with reverse curse technique. Yuta is not like Toji, who has no cursed energy and uses normal weapons, so if he stabs Hakari in the head, he's just dead. Another win condition that a lot of people say is that perhaps the curse technique that Inumaki has, so the snake eyes and fang, it's basically curse speech manipulation, so people say that maybe he'll tell Hakari to stop moving and just cut his head off. Now, an important factor to note is that you can't just spam this technique. You can perhaps use it to catch someone off guard once, but the issue is once someone is aware that you have these abilities, it's very easy to just reinforce your ears, and then the curse technique won't actually work. And an interesting thing to think about is because Hakari has so much cursed energy just overflowing from his body that he has the maximum reinforcement and output 24/7 while in jackpot, it is extremely likely that because his reinforcement output, again, is on 24/7 at the max, that the snake eyes and fangs just won't even work at all. So perhaps he'll kill him in base, which I don't even think he would need to kill him in base, but while in jackpot, again, it probably wouldn't work. And even if he does catch him off guard once, if Hakari realizes that he can use that, he just reinforces his ears even harder. And here's the important thing to distinguish, it depends on if this is a bloodthirsty match, so out of character fight and more of a fanfiction fight where they're just trying to kill each other and they're bloodlusted, or if this is an in-character fight, so perhaps they're just trying to knock the other person out, or maybe just defeat them plainly. If you're saying this fight is in character, of course Yuta is not going to kill Hakari. Even if he was another player in the current game, Yuta just wouldn't do that. The only times Yuta ever kills someone, as we saw, is only if he absolutely needs to, and or if this opponent poses a threat to civilians. So this is why he killed Jirav and Kurushi, because they were people who harmed civilians and didn't care. And it's actually why he spared Ryu and Uro. Granted, of course, he himself said it's because he wanted the points, but it's also because they weren't people who would harm civilians, so he was far more okay with just letting them live. And of course, I mean, in character, they are friends, so there is that as well. They're not really gonna kill each other. But if you want to say this is a bloodlusted match for whatever reason, in an alternate dimension or something, then yes, Yuta most likely could kill Hakari, even without the snake eyes and fangs, because it's a 2v1, and he has access to mimicry. Even as an immortal, I do think it might be too much, and they might just cut his head off or stab him right through the head. And now let's get into the win conditions for Hakari Kinji. Funny enough, Hakari has more win conditions than Yuta. It's really crazy. So let's actually break down his abilities. Now first, his curse technique is very contentious and it's very debated on whether we've actually seen it or not. And of course, this is up to your interpretation once I give you the information. So it's possible that his curse technique is basically to just throw pachinko balls and summon train doors or sliding doors. So basically these pachinko balls are the ones he threw at Charles, and the doors are what he used against Charles, but most importantly he had used against Yuji in base no domain expansion. So it is very likely that this is a part of his curse technique. If it's not, then how is he summoning these doors when he was fighting Yuji in complete base? Because if you have no curse technique, the only things you can make are shikigamis, barriers, and simple domains. And I don't think these sliding doors are shikigamis. So at the bare minimum, the sliding doors are a part of his curse technique. Now, whether you think there's more to his curse technique that we never saw, so perhaps he can manipulate probability and chance through some curse technique that we just never got to see, and the sliding doors are just an extension of that. Okay, that's possible. I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but at the very least, the sliding doors are a part of his curse technique. Whether it's the whole thing or it's just, again, an addition on, and we never got to see the full thing. Now onto the main thing, his domain expansion. Restless Gambler or Idle Deaf Gambler or whatever other translation you prefer. There's many translations to this domain expansion. So this domain expansion uses an ability called Pure Love Train. And this domain is incredibly complex. And I'm not about to spend 10 minutes just breaking down the domain because this is not a video on Kinji Hakari and how his abilities work. If you want a better idea, I made a video why Hakari is extremely underrated and underestimated. Again, if you want a deeper look into his domain expansion, check that video out. But to briefly break it down in the briefest of ways, his domain expansion is pretty much just gambling. So every time he rolls a slot, he has a chance of hitting jackpot. And of course, it depends on the numbers. Whether it's even or odd numbers, so whether he hits 666 or maybe 555, will actually determine if he gets increased probability or faster spins after his jackpot. And he also has visual effect indicators to indicate whether he's about to hit a jackpot or not. So of course it goes from green, red, and gold. Green being the lowest, so he's probably not gonna hit jackpot, or gold implying that he's about to hit it soon. And of course, if he gets a rainbow colored indicator, which keep in mind, it guarantees he gets a jackpot. If he's on his 4th time trying to hit a jackpot, then he's guaranteed to hit the rainbow indicators. However, if he just happens to hit a rainbow one by pure chance, even on his 1st attempt, he just instantly hits jackpot. And of course, we have his Richie scenarios, we have his chance boosters, we have the probability being 1 out of 239. There is just so much to this domain. And here are some meta points about his domain, which you might not actually know. The chances of hitting a jackpot being 1 out of 239 is just actually false. In Hakari's own words, he has never even gone past 30 times, whether he's taking it easy or going all out. And I know this might be confusing. How is that even possible? Mathematically, that shouldn't make sense. And that's because of the chance boosters, the Richie scenarios, and of course, the increased probability and faster spins, as well as the visual effect indicators. There's so much to this domain that absolutely rigs it so that he's going to hit jackpot very fast when he uses his domain expansion for the first time. And not only that, his domain is actually rigged so that if he hits jackpot the first time, he's just going to be guaranteed to keep hitting jackpots again and again and again after. Because this domain is so unbelievably complicated. So a lot of people actually confuse this for, oh, Hakari's so plot based, he keeps hitting jackpots, it's all luck based. And the thing is, a lot of these people just blatantly and completely have no clue how this domain works. And I mean at all if people say this is plot armor or chance based. Again, his domain is entirely rigged and favored for him to hit jackpots. At the unluckiest he can be for his first jackpot, it's 1 out of 30, and that's if he's extremely unlucky, which implies normally his chances of hitting a jackpot is either 1 in 15 on a normal attempt, and possibly even if he's lucky, 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 7. So very quick, because these spins happen quick as well. And again, like I said earlier, once he hits his first jackpot, he set up his domain expansion to just keep hitting jackpots repeatedly after that. Because you have to realize, Hakari is the casino. His domain is the casino. And what do they always say? The house always wins. It's always rigged no matter what casino you go to, no matter where you are in the world, it's just rigged to favor the casino and the house so that they make the most money, even if you think it's actually chance-based. And it's the same case with Hakari's domain. Now to get into the Hakari win conditions. I think actually Yuji Itadori is stronger than Hakari base to base, as even Yuta and Yuji themselves said that Yuji was both injured and he was holding back a lot against Yuta because he didn't think he deserved to live. But that's just me, because I actually know I'm in the minority, and a lot of people think that base Hakari, so no domain expansion, is actually stronger than Yuji base to base. And this could be possible because his cursed energy trait of it just being rough as nails is very impressive and very strong as well, so that helps a lot. So again, if you go over the majority and think that his base, which is definitely not special grade level, but at the very least is stronger than Yuji, then he is not getting 1 one-shot or blitzed by base Yuta. Now, if he fights Yuta, the thing is he's going to start the fight off with using his domain expansion right off the bat. And the way that Yuta fights, it's pretty interesting because again, a lot of people don't know the intricacies of how characters fight and their fighting styles. Yuta is someone who will only use his curse technique when he's pushed to the brink in base or when he really needs to. And the reason is it's because of these 5 minutes. If he uses his curse technique earlier on and he screws up and he just loses the 5 minutes, then he's guaranteed to lose because he just decided to use his curse technique too early and he loses fully manifested Rika and Mimicry. And of course, the reason Yuta didn't immediately bring out Rika in Sendai was because of the civilians. However, I truly do believe that even if partially manifested Rika was there and there was no civilian issues, he wouldn't have brought Rika to full manifestation had he not been pushed to the brink in base. When he had fought in base, he had gotten a very good idea of Ryu and Uro's fighting styles and their curse techniques, and very importantly their personalities too. So once he had gotten all this information and he was also very low on cursed energy, he decided, yep, it's about time, I gotta use my curse technique. Now of course I did say if they are bloodlusted and Yuta's just out to kill, again in some fanfiction alternate dimension sort of world where they're just bloodthirsty killers, then Yuta would just kill him right off the bat, because I don't think Hakari in base is even a match for Yuta in base if he was bloodthirsty. And then there's also partially manifested Rika. And I mean, even if he hits jackpot, which I will explain soon, I still think Yuta with his curse technique could probably kill him if he was truly trying to kill. Because there are the arguments, which again is headcanon, but the arguments are that Yuta has some curse techniques that are lethal and deadly that we just never got to see because he wasn't trying to kill Ryu and Uro. So perhaps he actually has some curse techniques that could insta-kill his opponents or do something crazy. And again, complete headcanon, but I just want to throw that out there because I know people argue that. Now, if we're saying that in character, Hakari would definitely be able to hit his first jackpot, as I just think he would last long enough. Since again, Yuta is not out to kill and he's not going to be fighting at full power when there's just no point to doing so. Now, how a domain clash would go between Yuta and Hakari is very complicated, interesting, and we just have no idea. So I'm not even going to include that, but I should have included that actually in the Yuta win condition, so I'll include that here. If you want to argue that Yuta would just clash his domain and not let Hakari even begin the private pure love train ability, so perhaps the ability can't be used in domain clashes, which again, we know is the case for sure hit, sure kill, guaranteed hit domains, but Hakari's is pretty interesting because the guaranteed hit only hits himself, so maybe it's more lenient, but again, that is an argument you can make for Yuta. However, again, in character, Hakari would definitely be able to hit his first jackpot, and here's the issue: if he hits his first jackpot, it's over. He just instantly wins. Even if Yuta realizes that this is a deadly opponent, or that if he's hit jackpot he needs to be going out at full power now, the issue is he only has 5 minutes for his curse technique and of course the jackpot, which grants him an infinite supply of cursed energy. So keep in mind, he doesn't have infinite reinforcement or infinite output, but because he has an infinite supply of cursed energy, he can reinforce his body to the utmost max that is even possible for him. With every single punch or with every single hit he takes, he can actually release the maximum output. So imagine if Yuji put his all into a fist, just all of his output and cursed energy into a fist that might drain him tremendously. Imagine Hakari does that. He can just keep doing that infinitely and he doesn't even have to worry about the cost. Imagine he's fighting at far beyond even 100% of his maximum power that he can actually muster up if he tried to make the hardest punch possible, and he's doing this with every single hit. And of course, because of the higher reinforcement and output, and again, keep in mind it's debatable on whether it changes his output or not. I don't think it does. I think it just lets him use the maximum output because he doesn't have to worry about losing cursed energy. So I think maybe that's just it. But I just wanted to let you know that some people think that perhaps it actually changes his output, but at the very least it does change his reinforcement. So of course his speed, strength, durability, reaction speed, travel speed, attacking power, just everything goes through the roof because again, he has an infinite supply of cursed energy, to the point that his base state would actually get killed in one shot against Hashimo. But while he's in jackpot, he can actually suddenly go blow for blow with one of the strongest sorcerers we have seen in the entire series, and also one of the strongest sorcerers in history as well, which is just truly incredible. And now back to the main point, because I went on a massive tangent. Yuta has his ability for 5 minutes. Hakari has his jackpot for 4 minutes and 11 seconds. Now you might be thinking, oh, it should be wraps. Yuta wins because he outlasts him. Well, it's absolutely not the case, as we saw the Kashimo fight. After he hits his jackpot, and again, it depends on if he had hit the jackpot with even or odd numbers, he either gets increased probability or faster spins. If he gets increased probability, then he pretty much gets pseudo immortality. So what this means is, yes, he is in base state, so like Kashimo was just killing him over and over, even while in increased probability base form, but just a moment he can actually re-summon the jackpot, so this is why it's called increased probability, and become pseudo immortal and get infinite cursed energy for just a moment. And now you might be thinking, isn't this kind of pointless? Because just having it for a moment, it's not like it's going to help in the fight. Well, actually it does, because he can keep resurrecting himself every time he is near death. So while he's in increased probability, it doesn't matter how many times Yuta and Rika try to kill Hakari, he's just going to keep resurrecting with this increased probability. And now one of the other options is faster spins. And again, this is also something people confused for plot armor when he fought Kashimo, because a lot of people just completely completely ignored the page where it explains his domain rules, so let me just quickly do that for people who didn't see it. Basically, when he hits faster spins, not only are the spins going insanely fast, but it also, and this is very important because I have never heard anyone talk about this, it also decreases the number of chances remaining. So it goes from 1 out of 239 to either 1 out of 70 or 1 out of 30. And again, the crazy thing is, this is on top of the fact that it's spinning way faster. So considering the fact that 1 out of 239 is actually 1 out of 30 at the very unluckiest, that means if the chances move to 1 out of 70, then at the very unluckiest, it would be a 1 out of 9, and if it moves to 30, at the very unluckiest, it would be 1 out of 4. So once he gets faster spins, he either has a 1 out of 8 or 1 out of 4 chance at the very unluckiest he could be to hit a jackpot. And again, this is while the spins are going faster, so it's rolling and re-rolling insanely fast. So the odds of him actually hitting jackpot immediately after the faster spins like he did against Kashimo is a little lucky, yes, but even had he not hit it instantly as he did against Kashimo, he would have hit it even a couple seconds later, or at the very least 10 seconds later if he's being unlucky. This man's domain and ability is rigged beyond belief, and again, people who call it plot armor have zero clue or have zero idea on how this domain works even remotely. So this is what I mean when he hits his first jackpot, he's just going to again and again and again just keep hitting jackpots, because if he gets increased probability, well, you're not going to be able to kill him, and then he's going to hit his jackpot sooner or later. If he hits his faster spins, then he's just pretty much immediately going to get jackpot again. Here's the craziest part: once he's on his attempt to get his 4th jackpot, so he never even actually reached this far with Kashimo, he is guaranteed to instantly hit another jackpot. So there's no increased probability or faster spins for the 4th time. He just instantly hits a rainbow colored indicator and hits jackpot. So this is what I mean. If this fight is in character, so if they're just trying to knock each other out, or if this is just a fight to see who's stronger, Hakari will take this, because Yuta won't be trying to kill this man and he's just not going to be able to knock him out. And you could very easily argue that Yuta might, keep in mind, might not be able to even kill him in jackpot, which honestly, like I said in the Yuta section, you could go either or, so that's your opinion. But if they are in character and this is not a fanfiction fight where they're bloodlusted, Hakari wins this pretty much 10 out of 10 times. It's just crazy. If he starts the fight in jackpot, he's just whipping Yuta's ass. However, again, you could make the argument that even while partially manifested and just in base, Yuta and Rika could stop Hakari before he hits his first jackpot. If he gets really unlucky and it goes into the 1 out of 20s and he still hasn't hit his first jackpot, then yeah, it might just be over for him. But again, that also depends on where you scale Hakari. If you're one of the people who scales him really high in base, so even stronger than Yuji, then I think he would last. I don't think he's stronger than Yuji in base like a lot of people, so I think 1 out of 20 might be too much for him, but truly I don't even think he would get to that point. So as you can see, there's a lot of interpretations to this, and it can go many ways. And now for the conclusion. The conclusion is, if you think this is a bloodthirsty fanfiction fight, so in like another dimension where they're just trying to kill each other, so not in character at all, Yuta has a higher chance of winning, as he could probably, at least in my interpretation, lop off Hakari's head in jackpot, because it is a 2v1 and the 5 minutes might just be enough. And of course, if they truly are bloodthirsty, Yuta would just summon the full manifestation of Rika right at the beginning and not even let him try and do his first spin and kill him before he even hits jackpot. However, if you think this is an in-character fight, so perhaps they're just trying to knock each other out just to see who's the strongest, or maybe it's just a spar to push each other to the brink, well, Hakari just really outlasts him very easily, and he just has too much going for him. Even if he doesn't start off in jackpot, he has a very high chance of winning. If he hits his first jackpot, if he starts off in jackpot, there is a 100% chance of him winning. There is no way, if Yuta is not trying to kill this man, that he stops Hakari while in jackpot. Hakari just beats him. And one thing I'll throw into the conclusion that I didn't actually include as a win con for Hakari, because I know a lot of people don't like this point, but Yuta himself even says that when Hakari's on a roll, or when Hakari's heated up in a fight, so basically it's implying if he's super lucky and he just hits his first jackpot very quickly, that he's actually stronger than Yuta. So he's pretty much implying that the Hakari that we saw against Kashimo would beat Yuta in a fight. Now of course, a lot of Yuta fans argue that, oh, he's just being modest, Yuta's a nice guy, he's kind, which again, I don't agree with, because I don't think Yuta would be modest for something like that, but it is something you could argue and some people actually believe. And there's also the fact that Maki says that that's probably not true, though I really take that with a massive grain of salt, since this is pre-awakened Maki who has no way of scaling these special grade level combatants, because yes, Hakari is not considered special grade, however while he's in jackpot, he is 100% undoubtedly a special grade level fighter. He doesn't fit the criteria because his technique is just not suited to take on an army or to overthrow a country. Like, it's just not at all, so that's why he's not considered a special grade sorcerer. However, while in the jackpot state, he is truly a special grade level sorcerer combatant without a doubt. And of course, you know the Hakari win conditions, that if they're in character, well, he's just going to outlast Yuta. And one other thing I'll include in the conclusion, because to be honest, I actually forgot to include this in the video and I just remembered now, but it's also the speed scaling, because again, in this series there are 3 forms of speed. There's travel speed, battle speed, speed and reaction speed, and Hakari has blatantly and undoubtedly has been shown to react to lightning more than once. Had it just been one time, you could argue that maybe it was chance, but the fact that he had reacted and dodged lightning multiple times during the Kashimo fight, well, his reaction speed truly is lightning fast. And in case you're curious as to what I mean, I won't be showing the panels because of copyright, which I haven't shown a lot of panels, but if you actually reread the fight, the lightning was actually inches away from his face multiple times, and he moves his head out of the way so that it hits another part of his arm. Here's the crazy thing, that lightning was tracking him and it was guaranteed to hit him. Had it not been a guaranteed hit, or had it not been tracking him, he could have easily dodged that lightning and it wouldn't have even touched him. Because again, it was going to blow his head off, and he moves his head out of the way as it's inches away from it and it hits his arm instead. And again, there are many instances throughout the fight where he just reacts blatantly to lightning, which is again just an incredible feat. You could argue that this far outscales Yuta, but I think Yuta might be relative to this, though we just haven't seen any crazy reaction feats, so not travel or combat speed, but specifically reaction feats from Yuta. And of course, power wise, I do think Hakari in Jackpot is strong, but again, it doesn't mean it's an instant loss for Yuta, because like most people forget, while Hakari's in Jackpot, Yuta is going to be using his Mimicry hacks as well as Rika, who's a lot stronger than Yuta, so it'll be a 2v1 against Jackpot Hakari. So yes, it's not like it's an instant loss just because Hakari most likely outscales Yuta in terms of speed and strength, because again, you know, Yuta is just hacked out of his mind with all these curse techniques and curse tools, and then of course Rika, who's even stronger than himself, so you know, it tends to help against strong opponents, you know. But that is pretty much this video. Who do you think wins, Yuta or Hakari? Let me know why, and let me know if you have any other reasons why you think one of these guys would win that I perhaps just didn't mention, because again, I've mentioned a good amount of win cons for both these characters, and I imagine there might be some more, but I do think I've at the very least mentioned all the major and most important ones. Of course, if you like the video, be sure to leave a like as it helps the video out, and be sure to subscribe for more JJK content. I have a ton of Jujutsu Kaisen content just like this on the channel, a ton of versus battles, what ifs, theories, live streams, reviews, just a whole bunch of stuff, and a lot of cool versus battles again, just like the one you're watching. And of course, thank you to all the channel members, you guys are very awesome, you guys really help out the channel, so thank you very much. And that's pretty much it for the video. If you watched it this far, hey, you're a part of the Higuruma fan club, let me know in the comments down below. And that is pretty much it. Have a nice day, and take care. Bye bye.